Gandalf the Black, the conjurer of cheap tricks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You may call me Gandalf the Black if you wish, because I am of African descent and I am a wizard. But, geez, I don't know what I prefer. Most people just call me the wizard. Well, shit. I can be a conjurer of cheap tricks. I do prefer the more powerful kind of storm-like spells, but there is a time and a place for subtlety. Now, how should I proceed with this message? I know what I feel, but I'm not quite sure what I want to say. I suppose it had to do with the whole conjurer of cheap tricks thing. There was a time when the best magic I could muster was basically using conjured cheap tricks. As far as things you could actually see and feel and tell it's happening. I think the first spell I was actually proud of that someone else could feel, they could tell I was doing it, was I cast a bit of a healing spell on Evan Taylor. I was really just doing it so he could feel it, and it wasn't like necessarily a spell to actually heal him. But I guess I just remember his reaction. I was like, wow, I can actually feel it. And I was like, wow. Of course, it's real magic. Like, we did meet on the psych ward, so I could see how he would think, maybe I'm just a crazy guy and not somebody who actually knows magic. I mean, that was why they put me in the psych ward, was for believing in magic. But, surprise, surprise, the guy who always says he can do magic can do magic. I mean, is it really that outlandish to assume that someone who's constantly claimed they can do magic and constantly give lessons on magic and he seems pretty knowledgeable with the stuff they're talking about, and obviously ain't just sitting here bullshitting you all day long, that I can actually do magic. I mean, I can see some people don't believe in magic, but they believe you can do anything, even literally impossible things with a machine, like time travel, right? But you can make a time travel machine. Some people actually think you can make a time travel machine. And some people actually think that a time machine doesn't just take you back in time, it takes you to a whole different timeline. Now, how can there be another timeline? You're going to another timeline. You're not traveling through time, you're traveling through dimensions. That's an interdimensional travel machine, not a time machine. Fuck you. Anyway. I remember what it was now. So I finally decided what color of magic I will be most dominantly. And I asked people a few times what they would say. If I said, well, I would tell them, well, red is this is red. Red is obviously my favorite color. I like to wear it a lot. But whether I'm red or not, what color of wizard would you say I would be? And every single person said blue. And they also said, one person said blue or purple, and one person said blue or red, but every single one of them said blue first. One person gave me a reason, too. They said that blue was like water and how it's trying to find equilibrium and an ultimate place of rest. Now, water doesn't necessarily try to find a place of rest. In fact, it usually tries to be a fluid, but does take the shape of its container because it's trying to find equilibrium. But this person assumed I was searching for like a peace that will find an eventual buoyancy at the exact right point at the surface of the water as rest. And that's almost the opposite of what I'm trying to become. Hence, what I do actually want to be is red. Right. Now, water sinks down and lays into its container. Fire rises up and escapes its container. See, water is the willing prisoner. Fire is the escapist. Okay? Well, it either escapes or it gets stifled out. Has to escape. Doesn't have a choice. Now, this is my original wizard hat. Not this one. This one. Now, surprise, surprise, it was already red. It's got some runes drawn on it, see? Those are to protect me. The protective runes on this hat are so specific that when I wear this hat, it protects me from my enemies. And if someone else wears this hat, it protects them from my enemies. So that's that. This, excuse me, got some fun. Yeah, this hat is actually damaged. Not only has the band come off completely, but it's not meant to be washed because the fabric. What I didn't know when I was purchasing this fabric, it can't be submerged in water or it will ruin it. Or so I'm told. So the only reason I'm holding on to that hat still is A, to give it to the person who made it for me for posterity's sake, and B, to return it to the person who made it for me so they can make me a second one. Now, the new one will be made out of felt. Sorry, it's supposed to be felt, but that's another too difficult to wash material. So I went with something that has a similar kind of soft texture to its colors, which would be linen. So I'm actually going to get a linen hat next. Now, as for the linen wizard hat, I was going to go with that same design, but maybe a different red. It's almost like a wine red. I'd want like closer to this color, but or even a dark red. I don't have a dark red to show you, but you know, darker red, even possibly a blood red. Something scarlet-like, and that's more closer to crimson-like. But yes, a scarlet linen dark red hat. Similar to that one, having its wizardly adornments and such. But I would use a black bandana or black handkerchief as the band that goes around the hat. Something of that nature. Anyhow, keeping in with all of that, I suppose, I should explain why. So I decided I will become a red wizard. Now, interesting side point. Insofar as my actual wizardry, because you know, when I say red wizard and blue wizard, and that, so far I've been using that as like a catch-all term for all the spells I cast. But when it comes to my actual wizardry, which is an actual technique similar to magic, right? There's magic, sorcery, psychic power, wizardry, divination, and witchcraft, just to name a few, right? And you don't have to be a man to be a wizard, and you don't have to be a woman to be a witch. But I have some witchcraft, but I'm much bigger on the wizardry. So wizardry, right? My actual color of wizardry. I was a gray wizard for a long time until I realized that that's like an intermediate phase. You're supposed to pick one of the colors around the center and not the middle of the 7-pointed star, which is gray. So I was just kind of stuck being like an anarchistic, not following the rules wizard for a while, which gave me the title the Grand High Anarchist. I'm not sure what my wizard title is now, because now I'm a blue wizard. So in terms of what people were saying, they actually weren't very far off saying I would be a blue wizard, but I want my primary goal in spellcraft in general to be red, because there's more types of spells than just wizardry, right? So there's a reason behind that. So I'll just explain it to you the way I know it. It might not be adequate, but I'll give you the best information I can. So I was trying to cast spells that avoided using any evil element or any element that even contained some evil. And it turned out there were only 3 elements that contained no evil at all. And guess they weren't even the holy elements, because even the holy elements had their own crimes and sins. So the only elements that contained no evil of any kind are fire, frost and shock, or fire, ice, and lightning. Not water, ice, right? So the cold, right? The cold. And then if you remove all, that already removed all the elements that have to do with evil, right? If you remove all the elements that have to do with death, on the death side of the spectrum, then you also remove thunder. Because thunder is such a powerful destruction that it actually shares part of its nature with the death elements. So, eliminate thunder. So then we just have fire and ice. So, okay, that's great. It's all holy and it's all lively, right? But then when you remove the elements also that are mal-efficient, all you're left with is fire. So if we talk about all the non-useful elements, or rather the unseemly, that would include everything that's deathly, everything that's mal-efficient, so it holds you back more than it lets you go forward, and everything that's evil, so it detracts you morally. And the only thing left, the only thing that's truly worthy and stands above all the rest is the fire element. Right? It's not light. Right? But it lets us see. It can be bright. Right? It can burn. It can cause harm, but it can also cause healing, believe it or not. And the purest form of fire is the cleansing fire. That's the holiest, most pure part of the fire is the cleansing fire. So cleansing fire is kind of like my ultimate spell, or not ultimate, but the definition. Cleansing fire would be the definition of the perfect magic in terms of what is against the unseemly or without the unseemly. In other words, everything about it is good and right instead of being bad or wrong. To oversimplify. So what does that mean if there are lots and lots of elements, but only one of them is worthy? Well, quite frankly speaking, it doesn't mean there's only one of them that's worthy. It just means that fire is the best one. Because, like I said, there's 3 elements that have no evil. So all 3 of them are worthy. Death has its value. Detraction and slowness and going backwards has its value. But they stand in the way. The problem with every other element is that they are counterproductive. So that makes fire also the most efficient, right? So when I say that I want to be a red wizard, I'm not even really saying I'm going to use red magic or red wizardry. I mean, I'm going to cast fire-based spells. And technically there's a purple fire called precious fire that's even better than the regular red fire, but it's still derived, obviously, from the fire element. So it's still under the category of like what a red spellcaster would use. Now, is red magic related to fire? Yes. It's the only magic we're talking about, specifically the actual definition of the word magic, not the umbrella catch-all term that we use to describe every paranormal or phenomenal event, but the actual magic spells that's made with the pentagram, right? Not the one with the circle around it, but just a regular 5-pointed star. It's not a symbol of the devil or of evil. It's a symbol of magic, right? Magic's actually one of the good side of the spectrum elements. Is of water. Now, water isn't one of those 3 elements. It's not ice or fire or lightning. So it's still got some bad tendencies in it. So magic is not entirely pure. But it is mostly geared towards holy energy. It's not an evil, wicked thing. It's just, it's actually the opposite of evil and wicked. But because it's a lesser good, the water element in particular, it shares some of the attributes of the other side of the spectrum, of the evil side. Now, they're lesser, right? Earth element is the opposite of water. Earth element takes and gives. Water element takes and gives. But the earth element takes more than it gives. It's greedy. Whereas the water element gives more than it takes. It's generous. So is water more worthy than earth? Yes. Are the holy elements more worthy than the unholy elements? Of course, of course. But do they stand by themselves as measuring up to having no kind of evil? No. See, good and evil perpetuate each other. They're at constant war with one another. They're making good must fight evil, and evil must fight good in terms of holy and unholy. That the whole holy unholy thing is a holy war. It's not stopping, right? Just constant battle. So good has to get close to evil to fight them. Evil has to get close to good to fight them. They're using each other's secrets against each other and everything, right? Sometimes the lines get blurred and good becomes more evil or evil becomes more good because they don't know how to fight them without doing that, and they're so obsessed with fighting one another. But fire, being actually on the neutral line between good and evil, how can it have no evil? I'm not even sure. That's what I was going to tell you, or I was trying to tell you earlier, that I don't know how to explain what I know. I can only tell you what I know. So why does fire have no evil element? Maybe because fire neither takes in or puts out. It attracts, right, because it's destructive. It's on the destruction side of the spectrum, the masculine side of the spectrum. It does pull towards itself with a destructive attraction, but does not consume, does not absorb, it does not filter, it does not, nothing passes in it one way and out the other side, nor is it permanently contained. Rather, fire takes things to hold them and then eventually bursts into an eruption or a combustion, explosion, that's what I was trying to say, and releases them, disintegrates them, transforms them, in fact, metamorphosizes them with its severe heat. So what can this mean? What can this mean for me and my red magic, or my burning spell casting? Well, it means that I shouldn't use lightning anymore and I shouldn't use ice anymore. I was already limited to 2 elements, or 3 elements, and for the longest time I thought I was going to have to choose ice, but something just kept going wrong with it. It just kept feeling not right. I mean, all this blue, it just didn't suit me. Even before I decided my favorite color was red, or my main color, I guess. I don't really have a favorite, but my main color would be red. Right before that, I was like, oh, I'll start wearing the color blue, and that'll be my color is blue, because I have this nice blue shirt that I like to wear. And then like 2 days later, not even the whole 2 days, like a day and 15 hours later, I was like, I'm going to wear red instead. Red's a better color. I'll wear red. And this was years ago when I was in high school, and I was like 16 or 17. I'm 34 now. I'm almost 35. So, speaking of being almost 35, the 10-year anniversary of me becoming a wizard is coming up. That's 3 days before March the 1st. Because March the 1st, I remember, is my birthday. I wouldn't forget that. So 3 days before that, I don't know if it was a leap year or not. I don't think it was. I don't know if this is a leap year or not. I'll have to look that up. But certain day in February, 3 days before my birthday, is when I finally transformed into a real wizard, not just a mage or a spellcaster. This is a wizard. I remember when I first became a wizard, it was very confusing because I went from being a mage with 100 regular mana to cast magic spells to being a wizard with nearly 0 wizard mana to cast wizardry. And there was no one to teach me how to be a wizard. I just figured it out. And for the longest time, or for the first little bit anyway, I couldn't figure out how to get my wizardry to work because it's like lifting weights. You have to work it out before it gets strong. And just having next to no wizard mana, I just couldn't cast my wizardry very well. When I would try to, I would overcast it even when I was out of mana, and that would hurt me. Well, it would strain me intensely didn't cause like physical pain. It would strain me and also make me kind of depressed, very temporarily. But it was like having this weight pushed down on me, kind of. That's not a good way to describe it. It was almost like having an anti-weight lifted off of me harshly, if that can make any sense in your head. But it was like being pulled upward in a negative way by like a nasty balloon that was just taking me on a flight, or trying to lift me up, but it couldn't get me all the way up. It was almost like it was stretching me upward because it couldn't get me off the ground. Very strange and annoying feeling. Anyway, I remember I learned about Qigong. Some people call it Qigong or Qigong. Qigong is a Chinese art of moving energy. So when I got into that, that really helped with my wizardry. It made it 10 times stronger. This Qigong was actually even stronger than the wizardry, believe it or not. Now, Qigong, maybe 2-3 days into my wizardry, I learned about Qigong from a book. Qigong, at least the way I was doing it, I was told there are many techniques when I was reading the book, so I just made my own technique. So what I would do is I'd take energy in one side, and the exact same energy out the other side. Take it in the left, out the right. And I would direct the energy in such a way that I felt it was helping both what I wanted and what the whole universe wanted. So I got my end of the bargain, and so did everybody else. Natural process combined with a bit of selfishness just to help myself along. Obviously, why would I not want to put myself above everything else if I'm trying to increase my power and understanding and might and strength and health and all that? And it increased my health exponentially. It was insane. There was something in my lower gut area that when the energy would travel through, it would nourish that spot and strengthen it intensely every time. And I must have done it like 20 or 30 times just at first. And I remember I was like punching this wooden post that was in the ground in my backyard where I lived at the time, and punching and punching till my hands hurt too much to punch it. And then I would do the Qigong technique, and it would refresh my knuckles, kind of uninjuring them. Some might say healing them, but that's not really what was happening. It was like replenishing and nourishing them. And so then I'd be able to punch the wooden pole again just as many times as I did the first time, and my knuckles stopped hurting for the moment. Now, it would wear down just as equally, and then the Qigong technique wouldn't work that way a second time. I had to actually wait for it to heal. But it still gave me that kind of second wind or second strength or second fortitude to do it again. That, of course, was with clear energy, though. And I eventually started working with other elements in my Qigong. Years down the road, I started trying to choose between fire or water. A lot of different times I thought either water or fire was the perfect element. And I kind of bounced back and forth between the two. But now it seems more clear that it's more geared towards fire. Now, fire is a square and water is a circle. I don't know if I did the hand signs very good at all, but fire is a square. It's a square element. It doesn't look right, but whatever. Fire is a red square, and water is a blue circle. Now, they're not opposites. Fire is the opposite of wind, which is a gray spiral, and water is the opposite of earth, which is a green triangle. And on the we'll ignore the third spectrum for now, the time spectrum, because those ones are more decay being the bad or death-like end of time is a spiral triangle, and the opposite of decay is development, which is a pentagon, not a pentagram, pentagon. No points on the end of it, like no arms coming out of it, just pentagon. My back. I'm standing in my little meditation zone I made earlier today. And it's just a carpet and a meditation pillow. I ripped my damn pillow. I knew I was going to do it. I should have cut the tag off, but I tore the tag off thinking if I did it fast enough, it wouldn't rip it. Now I'm going to have to get my mom to sew it because I don't know if I have any sewing supplies. I guess I could just buy sewing supplies. Yeah, I could do that. It's going to take forever to get my mom to do it. Anyway, I'm getting way off track here. But for a good reason. I need to decompress all that energy I just spit at you. So, Gandalf the Black, the conjurer of cheap tricks. Here I am. Not just conjuring cheap tricks. I guess this is more than anything, a story of how I've come so far. And I guess I just wonder where I'm going from here. Somewhere. I've been trying to focus on like learning levitation. Currently I've hit a snag. I have been able to make certain objects move, but not significantly enough to like lift my fat ass off the ground. Definitely not. I've been able to balance the energies of the universe with levitation, but nothing conclusively, literally gonna lift me off the ground type of spell so far. I put myself on a path of levitation, so I'm mostly confident that I'll eventually get it, but so far not yet. At least not anything significant enough to amount to something that could prove that I could make something levitate. And yet I feel like levitation isn't even my main focus. A few days ago, I became my own element. I was watching a bunch of Elder Scrolls videos about how the Elder Scrolls universe is just being dreamt by a god that's outside the universe. And I was like, well, that's the same as Brahmanism, which is an ancient Indian religion that predates Hinduism and Buddhism. I've thought at length about Brahmanism and how weird it is, the idea of the universe isn't real. It's a God's dream, and the God's outside the universe dreaming us into existence. Super weird, super strange. Super, I don't even want to get it. I thought about it enough to get it. Like, it's like, okay, if I eat a piece of bread, and the bread is me, and I'm me, and we're both the same God eating each other, why am I eating that bread? Why is the bread not eating me? Why do I eat a cow? Why doesn't the cow eat me? So crazy to think. Even if you're like, well, cows don't eat meat. That's why the cow didn't eat you. Why are you eating meat? You don't have to eat the cow. Of course I don't have to. But why does it work that way? Why do I get to eat the cow? Why do I get to eat the wheat? Why do I get to eat the yeast? Why do I get to drink the water? Why doesn't the cup of water drink meat? Or if we're the same. Right? But we're probably not. I can't even explore the idea of if we are again right now, because this will turn into like an 8-hour video. And I don't have that much space to record on my tablet. So let's just assume we're not in a dream of some god. Well, I decided that what would I do just in case I was? I thought, well, because in the Elder Scrolls videos, they're saying what people did when they realized they were part of the dream in the video game series Elder Scrolls, is they would either acting themselves out of the dream because they're like, well, I'm a dreamer, not real, and they'd become nothing. They're no longer dreamt, or they would ascend to a higher level that they call Shim or Kim, and they would what was it they would do? Basically, they would realize they were in a dream, so then they could control the dream. They would become like a lucid to the dream. They'd be like, well, I just dreamed that this happens, and it changes the dream because they're just part of the dream. So it's kind of like a Buddhist thing where like everything's mind, they think everything's mind. I don't agree with that. I don't agree everything is just a projection of my own mind. I believe that you're an individual and so am I. We come from the same source and we naturally return to that source. But maybe in that regard, nature is wrong. I've never said that openly before, nature being wrong about something. I've always wanted to side with nature, but nature can be very wrong. Very. Sometimes, because nature has the ingredients for everything that builds us up and brings us into existence, and it also has the ingredients for everything that ruins us. So trying to get to the conclusion of this. How do I put that? Nature being wrong because of, oh right. So I believe that when this cycle, or what they call the dream, is over and we wake up, that's actually just we die. And when everything dies, the cycle begins anew. And from the dead that have passed on and been reincarnated, from that mass of life that has been spent, the Creator is born again. I talked in other videos about it being a cycle, but I didn't get that specific because I didn't know yet. At that point where the original Creator comes into being, it has to come after the end of time, then it becomes the beginning of time. Well, that's because all the souls that died become the new Creator for the next generation. There's no end to the cycle per se. There's a finite depletion point that we call the end, that is death. But once that point has been reached and all time is over, time doesn't really end, so it has to start again. It has to go back to the beginning. Not rewound, but a continuous cycle. We're not going backwards, but everything has to be over in order for it to start again. Now, it's not like a music box where you wind it up and it starts all over the exact same story. We retain a lot of the information that comes from the previous iteration in a very similar way to how in the Elder Scrolls universe, in those video games, they have the previous iterations of the cycle of the world. Now, but in real life, it's because everything dies, and from the deceased souls, the expired data is recompiled into new data, into the Creator. Now, I, in preparation for this event, have made myself my own element, separate from the rest of nature. At first, I became the Black Templar. That was my element. It was similar to the Holy Element, except where the Holy Element is a combination of the Dragon Element and the Dark Element. I combine the Dragon Element and the Black Element. So they're Dragon Element and Rice, actually, is the Dark Element. I was Dragon Element, which is the Reptile Element. And Coal, which is Black Pigment, Rice or Darkness being Black Luminance. Different. Okay, so let's get to the end of this. So then, everything I've been telling you about fire being the only element that's not unseemly, I had to baptize that element in fire. I had to say, this isn't good enough by itself. My own element, which I made for me to be more individual and more strong, is not right. So I became the, how did that go again? I don't know what the exact name of it was. I think I had it in my head at one point. But as the Black Templar, I was the Blessed Sword. Now the Blessed Sword of Fire. So that makes me the... Burning Primate instead of the Black Templar. Primate as in like, we're talking about holy ranks here, like a Templar or a bishop is like, or a monk even, right? The holy element is the monk element. It's even like, it's a type of holy man or holy person. So as a primate, that's comparable to an archbishop, but I'm not like a minister. I'm not giving you scriptures. I am kind of preaching at you, I guess, but it's not related to a religion. It's related to holiness, not the religious sense of holiness where I do what God says. I'm a good little boy. No, it's a type of holiness as in I do what's sacred. I keep myself pure. I banish evil from myself. I grow in my goodness and my morality. That type of thing. So if this type of primate is not even referring to like a simian or monkey type of primate. We're talking about I am attempting to become a higher power of holiness, or have become. But now, what do I do with it? Right? Being the prime aspect of your own element is basically the equivalent of being like what a lot of people would think of as a god, or at least I personally used to think of as a god. Like, there's a god for the fire element, god for the water element, god for the wind element, but they're not really gods. They're prime aspects. But I do believe that each one of these elements has like a being that rules over that specific element. That's not like a spirit or anything. It's like a physical, tangible thing that you can touch and feel, like just like me and you. That you can pick up and handle and hug and kiss or punch and kick or whatever you do to it, right? So now in the same way that, say, fire has something that rules over the whole fire element, I rule over my own element. Now my element's much smaller and less significant because I'm just one man, whereas fire is a whole thing, right? But I in my own right have evolved into my own element by pressing my energy, becoming that, ascending to that form. So what do I do now, right? I already had the one element, the Black Templar element. Now I'm the Burning Primate element. Same idea, but just consecrated by fire. What do I do? How do I go higher than that? How do you go higher than being the alchemically the equivalent of God? Or a God. I'm not God. I'll give a disclaimer, I am not God or a God. That definitely cannot help you on that one. Don't pray to me. I'm much closer to Gandalf the Black, the conjurer of cheap tricks. That's why I started this video that way. But I am very powerful. I can do a lot of things, though I can't do everything. You know, like if I go around saying I'm God, people are gonna be like, "Well, light, pull up a light bulb, and be like, light this light bulb without touching it." They'll be like, that's not what I'm the God of." Because most people, when they think of a God, they're just like, "Oh, you can do anything. You have all the power everywhere. You have limitless, boundless ability." No, I definitely do not, and I would never claim to. And that's why I can't call myself a god, because gods are in books and stories. No one can do that. No one can just... and if you can, I'd love to see it, but it still doesn't make you God. Well, shit. I think I've talked myself into a corner here. Now, if someone asked me to prove that I was God, I definitely could not back that up. And I hopefully will never make that claim. But I was pretty sure the world was here before I got here, because I was born in 1987. Pretty sure people were already doing all kinds of shit before that, and I did not make this world. But I don't even think of a God as being necessarily the creator. I think of the creator as one of the gods, the first one. Like I said, it's not even really God. It's just the prime aspect of the original element, of the beginning of time, which is a square spiral. But now I'm getting way off track. So how can I bring this back? Making all the excuses for why I get to call myself a god. I guess it's going to be kind of inconclusive, because what I've really discovered is that I remember now, the turning into the avoiding the end sequence by becoming an element. I didn't want to. In the Elder Scrolls games, they were talking about the people who would ascend to that level where they knew that they were in a dream and they would function in the dream. That they would eventually become an amaranth, which is they would become a second dreamer and get there to go off and start their own universe. I didn't want to do that, so I just started my own element to myself. Okay, so the challenge now is I'm a single element. I got no other elements to bond with because I didn't make my own separate elements of my universe. I just became one aspect of a separate piece. I'm like a piece of a puzzle with no rest of the puzzle to go to it that doesn't fit in any other puzzle. I'm completely independent. It's scary. It's huge. It's really overwhelming. And I just don't know where to go from here yet. I'm sure the answer will come to me. But as things stand now, I was once a piece of the puzzle, and now I'm a thing apart. I'm a puzzle with only one piece. I guess that makes me just a picture. So I guess all I gotta figure out is what am I a picture of, right? I'm a little tiny picture the size of a single puzzle piece. But there's nothing puzzling here anymore. I'm just a picture, and y'all are missing a piece of your puzzle now.